There are probably 1,000 people who know exactly what you know, have your same certifications, and offer your exact same services. But there is only one person who thinks about it the way you do, and that person is you. So, why does your marketing sound like a copy paste of everyone else in your industry? Leading with your expertise is actually making you invisible. If you're ready to stop blending in and finally stand out in a crowded market, you need to stop selling your credentials and start sharing what you believe. Welcome to the Midlife Business Academy. I'm Lori Lyons, marketing strategist, business coach, and accidental techie. After years of running a successful website design agency, I'm now building the business of my dreams and helping other midlife entrepreneurs do the same. From strategy to marketing to mindset, we covered what really matters when you're growing a business that fits your life. Let's get started. I'm Lori Lyons, and welcome to the Midlife Business Academy. If you've ever felt like your business is running your life instead of supporting it, you're in the right place. Around here, I believe a dream business isn't measured by its size. It's measured by the freedom and life it makes possible. So here's something that might sting a little bit. Being good at what you do is not a differentiator anymore. It used to be. 20 years ago, if you're a great copywriter or a great therapist or a great financial planner, that was enough. People couldn't Google or ChatGPT their way to competence, but you could. And that's not the world we live in anymore. Now there are 1,000 people who know what you know. 1,000 people with the same certificate. And believe me, I know there are marketing and business coaches on every street corner with the same framework and the same level of experience. So what happened? Expertise got commoditized. And if the only thing that you're leading with is, I'm good at this, you sound exactly like everyone else who's good at it too. So if expertise isn't what sets you apart, what does? Your point of view, the specific way you see the problem your clients are dealing with, and the specific way you should believe it should be solved. I actually did an episode on this at the very beginning of my podcast, episode 36. Yeah, we're on 344 now, so that was a long time ago. Why having a point of view is important to your business. And I still think it's one of the most important things I've ever talked about on the show. And it clearly landed because it's still one of my most downloaded episodes I have. So go back and listen to it if you haven't listened to it already. There's this concept that Simon Sinek made famous. We've all heard about it. We all probably read the book. Most people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. And I think that that idea is the foundation underneath everything we're talking about today. Your why is where your point of view actually comes from. Now, most of us are never going to explain it or state it as clearly as Apple does because we don't need to. We're not going to have a 2-minute keynote where it all comes together in one perfect line. And that's fine because you don't need Apple level polish. But what you do need is to start doing the work to figuring out what yours is because your clients are looking for it, whether you've said it or not. And that's different than it used to be. Clients used to hire you because of what you could do for them. Now, more and more, they want to know what you think. Not just your services, your thinking, how you see a problem, what you believe about it, and whether it lines up with how they see it too. Okay, little self-promotion before we keep going. If you're sick of the generic business advice you're getting and you're ready to find out what makes your story different from everyone else, hit subscribe and turn on those notifications. This is a 10-part series, one piece of the blueprint every week. And next week, we're talking about messaging, and you don't want to miss it. If you haven't listened to them, go back and listen to the previous episodes, hit subscribe, and turn on the notifications. So years ago, I was in a speaking program, and my coach at the time was Larry Winget, a really well-known keynote speaker, TV commentator, marvelous. I loved Larry. He's retired now, but I love Larry. And he spent an enormous amount of time teaching us point of view, not teaching us facts to stay on stage, but fine tuning our point of view. And it wasn't really something any of us stated outright in our talks, but it was the thing our entire business is quietly built on. And he said, it's the thing that you want people to know when you're on your deathbed. What is the one thing that drives you? Now, I got to say, it was during COVID, so 6 years ago, and my point of view has changed as I've changed. And that's okay too, because what I've come to believe is your point of view isn't fixed. Mine has changed and morphed as I've grown, and as life is handing me more experience, more perspective, more scar tissue, quite frankly. It's not something I necessarily announce every episode, but I do say a version of mine every single week, whether you've noticed it or not. It's never too late to build a life of your dreams. That's mine because I firmly believe that. That's the hill I'll stand on. And I believe that barring physical or mental capabilities or incapabilities, you're never too old to do whatever you want to do. And for this show, I twist it toward business. It's never too late to build the business of your dreams. That belief is under everything that I record. So if you go back and listen, probably the last year or so, I didn't wake up one day and decide to say it. It's just what I actually think is true, and it's been the undercurrent of every one of my episodes for the last year. And here's the thing about a real point of view. On the surface, it's never too late to build the life of your dreams. Sounds like something nobody could argue with. It's warm, it's encouraging, it's soft and fluffy and fuzzy. And who's against that? But you'd be surprised. There are people who genuinely believe that 50 is the beginning of the end, not the middle of something new. That you had your shot, you missed it, or you didn't, and now it's somebody else's turn. There are people who believe the money has to come first, that dreaming is a luxury for people who already have the resources. And if you don't have the resources, the dream isn't for you yet. There are people who believe wanting something for yourself at this stage of life, after the kids, after the initial career, after taking care of everyone else, is just selfish. That's your job now to enjoy what you built, not go for something new. And there are people who believe that dreams are for your 20s, that there's a window. And if you don't walk through it, it closed. And the responsible thing to do is to be realistic. Every one of those is a point of view. Not one of them is mine, but some people do have that for a point of view. And I don't think, honestly, that that's true. I never have. But I understand why somebody would believe them because I know people I love deeply who hold various versions of those beliefs. It doesn't make them wrong as people. It just means that we see things differently. And can we talk about too old for a second? Because that makes me want to throw something. Because when somebody says, I'm too old to start a business now, or I'm too old to go rock climbing, I'm too old to go ziplining, or I'm too old to go travel, or I'm whatever. Too old to do what exactly? And too old according to who? Did a governing body issue a memo I didn't get? Is there a secret committee somewhere that reviews applications and snaps denied, too old on them right before your 60th birthday? And I've never once seen the actual rule book. Nobody can produce it. And yet people quote too old like it's a federal law. Too old to start a business. Too old to learn the instrument. Too old to hike that Appalachian Trail. Too old to go back to school, change careers, move a new city, fall in love again, learn to surf, whatever. Maybe there are 70-year-olds climbing mountains and 80-year-olds getting their first tattoos. And somewhere a 4-year-old is telling me she's too old to start an online business. How's that for a point of view rant? You know what mine is now? So here's what I believe at the core of everything that I do. You're never too old to do what you're physically and mentally able to do. That's it. That's my whole point of view. Not what you feel like doing on your worst, most tired Tuesday, but what you're genuinely capable of. And if your body and your brain are willing, age is not the thing standing in your way. It never was. It's just the easy excuse to grab onto because nobody argues with it. So the next time you catch yourself thinking you're too old for something, I want you to picture me personally, mildly annoyed on your behalf, asking who told you exactly that. Because I guarantee you, it wasn't anyone qualified to decide. So that's what a real belief does. It's never just a nice sentence. Underneath is an exact actual disagreement with how some people see the world. And that disagreement is exactly what makes it worth saying. Who'd have thought that it's never too late to build the business of your dreams would be a disagreeable statement? But as you saw, it was, and it can be. So when you're developing your own point of view, don't stop at the sentence that sounds good. Ask yourself, what would someone have to believe to disagree with this? If you can't answer that, you probably haven't found your actually point of view yet. You found a nice sentence that hasn't been tested. And this connects back to something I said earlier. Your point of view isn't fixed. It can sharpen and grow as you do. Mine has over the years. And even while the core of it, it's never too late. That positivity is a choice that worth making every single day, and it has never wavered. That's what it looks like to keep thinking of just instead of just repeating a belief because you said it once. So think about the last piece of content that actually stuck with you, whether it was on TikTok or Instagram or somebody's Facebook post or even LinkedIn. I bet it wasn't a list of facts. It was someone saying something you hadn't heard quite that way before. Because information is everywhere now. It's free, it's endless, and a lot of times it's forgettable. You can Google any fact I know inside of 10 seconds. You can ChatGPT it, and so can your clients. Because nobody remembers the seventh tip in your carousel post, and nobody's rewatching your webinar for the statistics. But they remember the moment you said something that felt like you were taking a stance on something, something with an edge to it, something that made them stop scrolling and say, wait, say that again? Or they hit repeat 10 times because they didn't hear it fully the first time on the podcast or a YouTube video. That's what the rewind button's for. So here's why. Information asks people to learn something. A point of view asks people to agree or disagree with you. And agreeing or disagreeing is an emotional response. It's personal. Learning a fact doesn't require anything from anyone except a little bit of time. Reacting to a belief does. And whatever requires something from us is what we actually remember. So when you lead with information, 5 tips, 3 steps, the 10 things you need to know, which is very popular these days, you're forgettable by design. When you lead with a belief, even a small one, you give people something to have a reaction to. And a reaction is what turns a stranger into someone who remembers your name and a possible client. Here's the part that scares people. So I'm going to say it very clearly. A strong point of view will and should repel some people. It has to. If everyone agrees with you, you haven't said a thing. But the people who do agree, the ones who read what you believe and think, well, finally somebody said it, those are your best clients. Not the one who found you and thought, hey, you seem nice enough, but the ones who found you and felt like you were speaking directly to them about something they already believed, but they hadn't heard anyone say out loud. That's not a coincidence. That's your point of view and how you can make it work for you. So I want to give you a practical tool here because find your point of view can be a little abstract. And it's one of my favorite uses of AI in my entire business. And when I talk about AI, I'm talking about my brain because I have undiagnosed adult ADHD, all the classic symptoms. And I passed it on to my son, which is generic. So I know it's there. And I was at an age where they didn't test for that. We just were scattered. And it doesn't make me wishy-washy about what I believe. I know exactly what I believe. It makes me task oriented in the most chaotic way possible. And it drives my husband absolutely crazy. He's a one time and a thing kind of guy. So is Vanessa, my VA. They like to work on one thing. And I'm like all over the place. My husband picks a task and he focuses on it till it's done. Drives me crazy, just as I drive him crazy. I don't do that. I love my garden. I love to go out and water the plants. On the way, I might notice that the roses need deadheading. So I start on that. Halfway through the roses, while the deadheads are still laying on the ground, I might spot some weeds over here and I go pull those. So there's another little pile. So now I'm over there pulling weeds. And while I'm pulling weeds, I glance and my petunias and my hanging basket needs a haircut. So I'll go give that a haircut. And I got a little pile of petunias laying around here now. And for 3 hours, I worked in my garden and I have all these little piles of stuff unfinished and laying around. And if you walked into my garden at any given time, you'd have no idea what I was doing out there. And that's how my brain approaches a business idea, a piece of content, or honestly, probably, writing the talking points for this episode. At the end of the day, when I clean up and I'm finished with my garden, all the tasks are done and all the little piles are picked up. But in the meantime, it looks like a scattered mess. But it's all done at the end. I just go back and forth and back and forth. I'll deadhead and then I'll go weed and I'll go deadhead and then go trim. So that's my brain. That's my brain on ADHD. And for years, it really made it kind of hard to pin down my point of view. And it's not because I didn't know what I believed, but because I'd started writing it one way and I'd go wandering off to something. Oh, that sounds good. Let me go down this rabbit hole. And I'd circle back and I'd add three more talking points. And I'd end up that's technically contained my point of view somewhere in there. Buried under there was whatever I wanted to say. And here's where AI changed that and how AI can help you write your point of view. Not because it's going to create my point of view for me, but because it's an incredible pattern solver. That's when it really came clear to me what my how my point of view actually became concise. Because I've been using ChatGPT since almost the beginning. I think it was like debuted in November of 2023 or whatever. And that January, I was on a cruise and they were talking about it. And I went back and started playing with it and actually took a seminar like a month later. So I've been beginning playing with ChatGPT in my business for a long time. So what I found was if I will dump all of this stuff into my ChatGPT or now my Claude, I'm using Claude a lot more, and I'll say this is where I am. What is the thread that runs through it? What is the pattern here? What do I keep circling back to? What am I actually saying under all of this, all these little piles of stuff that I have laying around here? And that's a really good way to use AI. Feed it the last 10 posts or emails that you've written and ask what you seem to believe based on the patterns, not just the words. Ask it where you've been neutral when you actually have an opinion. Ask it to lay out the through line it's noticing across everything that you've said, even when you didn't say it directly. And here's a bonus that happened to me more than once with it. Sometimes it points at a pattern that I'm unconsciously promoting that isn't actually true. If you say something like, you keep implying X, and my honest reaction is, well, wait, no, I don't. I don't believe that at all. That's incredibly useful information too. And it means that somewhere along the way, Your words start saying something your beliefs don't actually back up. And that's just as valuable to catch as the patterns that are accurate. So when it's used that way, AI isn't writing your point of view for you. It's doing what a great editor or a great coach, hello, it takes the scattered version of you and hands back the focused one. And that to me is worth its weight in the $20 a month and now $40 because I pay them both. That's an amazing $40 a month that I get from both of them. And it's remarkably good at finding what's inside the noise, especially if your garden looks anything like mine and has all these scattered piles laying around it. Because here's the thing, people don't remember expertise. They remember perspective. So if you haven't grabbed it, make sure that you've grabbed the Dream Assessment Blueprint because this week's worksheet is on the point of view assessment. It's built to help you actually pull out what you believe, not what you think you're supposed to say. So go through it honestly because some of the answers might surprise you. Inside the workbook, you rate yourself 1 to 10 on 5 statements. Things like I have a clear point of view. My audience knows what I stand for. People can explain what makes me different. My perspective attracts the right clients. Add those up and you'll land on your blueprint score out of 50. The lower that number is, the more your business is running on expertise and information instead of an actual point of view. Which, if you're listening to this episode, you know now is a problem worth fixing. The higher the score is, the more your point of view is already doing the job, attracting the right people and repelling the wrong ones. So either way, your score is your starting point, not a verdict. If you haven't grabbed your blueprint worksheet yet, it's waiting for you at midlifebusinessacademy.com/blueprint. The is very important. The midlifebusinessacademy.com/blueprint. So next week, we're talking about message because you can have the clearest point of view in the world and it still won't matter if you're saying it to the wrong person in the wrong words. You know, marketing is all about the right time with the right message to the right people and actually with the right vehicle. Adding that in there. And if you did the workbook and your blueprint score is less than, let's say, 35, that's not a bad grade. It's just information. It usually means that your point of view is somewhere inside of you. You just haven't made its way in how you talk about it with your business yet. So that's exactly the kind of thing we work together when you're coaching with me. Head to talkwithlori.com and book a dream business session, and we'll see if we're the right fit to get it out of your head and into your business. So until next week, it's never too late to build the business of your dreams. We'll see you next time. Thank you for joining me on the Midlife Business Academy. If today's episode made you think, or made you feel seen, share it with a fellow business owner who could use it too. When you're ready for more support, you'll find the link to book your Profitable Path Blueprint call in the show notes. I'll be back next week with more insight and strategy to help you build a business that truly fits your life and one of your dreams. We'll see you next time on the Midlife Business Academy.